Can you start a coaching business in 2025?
All you're doing is, again, remember, like we're selling an outcome here. We're not selling a service. I think this is a big mistake that a lot of coaches make. When I got into the industry, I had just quit my job making $200K per year. I had a nice car, I had a Beamer, I lived in Venice. Here I was with no audience, no following. I had to figure out how to start making like 10 grand a month very, very quickly. Otherwise I'd be out on my ass.
Was it easy?
It definitely wasn't easy.
Welcome to Coach's Corner with Xander Fryer and Jay Williams, where we dive into what it really takes to launch, build, and scale a successful coaching business. So, hey Xander.
Hey.
So this is our first episode of Coach's Corner, and I want to dig into, can you start a coaching business in 2025?
No.
You know, if you didn't get in by 2022, it's over.
You're done.
Is that right?
It's over. It's over. Yeah. Cancel. We're done.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working together since 2020, and the industry has changed a lot.
Yeah, it is changed drastically. When did you start your coaching business? Like, what was your?
My first one, it was 2000. I think it was 2008, maybe the end of 2008 was the first one. So back in the dark ages.
Back in the dark ages. When were you starting to do the online stuff?
In about 2019, 2020.
2019, 2020. Yeah. So I think I started high impact coaching. We like officially got up and running like 2017, and yeah, the coaching industry is like drastically different now than it was back then. But I think, just to answer your question plainly, can you start a coaching business in 2025? The answer is yes. Obviously, like we're seeing hundreds of coaches do it right now, but it's just different than what it was, back in say 2017 or 2020 or anything like that. I think when it comes to starting a coaching business back in like 2015, 2012, even before I got started, it was almost like, anybody and their mom could be an online coach, because you were like if you went on social media and you started posting about your coaching business, you were one of like 8 people talking about coaching. So it wasn't that difficult to get a business up and like become an influencer and get your business up and running.
It's funny. I was thinking about that too. I mean, I was very much online, but I wasn't an online coach. I had an in-person coaching business, but we'd get a lot of our clients online. And I was just thinking, like, some of the stuff that I was doing, a lot of in-person coaches still don't do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I missed the memo that I should have just gone online back in 2012. That would have been the smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's the interesting thing is like, yeah, there is more people in the coaching industry. And I hear a lot of coaches that are always like, oh, the coaching industry is saturated. And my response to them is, no, it's not at all. Like the coaching industry itself is growing at double-digit rates every single year, right? So like, yeah, well, you could have just been a random person posting online in 2015 and gotten your business up and running. It was a much smaller set of people that were buying coaching. Like the amount of people that now buy coaching is 10 times, 20 times the amount that it was 7, 8, 10 years ago. So the industry itself is growing. So like, is there an audience to sell to? The answer is absolutely, right?
Yeah. I'm curious really. So you've done this, what did you say, 2017?
Yeah.
And when you started, even then, I mean, there was no ChatGPT and, all of this stuff, right? So when you started, was it just like, hey, I start an Instagram and like people reach out, they respond to all DMs? Like, was it easy?
It definitely wasn't easy, right? Because even when I started 2017, there was already a lot of coaches in the industry, right? So there's already people with big Facebook followings and YouTube followings and Instagram followings and things like that. So breaking into the industry was still not easy. And for me, I think that like when I got into the industry, there was this shift when back then, the only people that were coaches were what were called influencers, quote unquote influencers, right? You had to have a big email list or a YouTube following or Facebook following or Instagram following. And that was how you built your coaching business, right? And when I got into the industry, I didn't have any of that, right? And I had just quit my job making, 200K per year. And so I had a nice car, I had a Beamer, I lived in Venice. And so here I was with no audience, no following. And I had to figure out how to start making like 10 grand a month very, very quickly. Otherwise I'd be out on my ass. And so building a following before monetizing was not possible for me. So I think I was probably one of the first people in the industry that like really went after this idea of like, okay, I'm going to start high ticket rather than doing back then everybody was doing, they had a big audience and they were doing, a free opt-in or an ebook or something. And then from there, they would go to like a $97 course. And then from there, they would go to like a $497 mid-level thing. And then eventually somebody might be willing to pay you for your high ticket, 5K, program or mastermind or something like that. And I was like, I just don't have the audience and I don't have the time for this. So, I remember when I started, I got a Facebook group up and running, and I think I had like 47 people in it. And I was like, okay, if I follow the numbers and I try to get people into an ebook thing, maybe I get 10%, that's 4 or 5 people. And then from there, I know that 2 or 3% of them convert into clients. I'm like, I just don't have the volume to actually make any money doing this. So I just reached out to every single one of those people in the Facebook group and started having conversations with them. I think this is where the whole like having conversations over DMs was born. I remember sharing this at a couple of masterminds after that, and then it just kind of took off. But it was just like, rather than trying to be an authority and be an influencer, I was just trying to build relationships. It was relationship marketing for, the social media age. So I was able to get a 6-figure coaching business up and running with like less than 100-person following. And, within 30 days of me launching that Facebook group.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very like different way to approach stuff. And now obviously that's, part of what high impact coaching teaches now. But, the question that always pops up to me is like, okay, great. Like everyone else is doing one thing. Why would you do something different? Like what made you think like, yeah, I'm gonna charge more money and I'm gonna talk to people individually, and like not obviously, you got this idea. I only have 47 people. It can't scale. But like the first thing I think is like, well, yeah, I can't scale, but like, how are you going to charge $5,000 or whatever you were charging at the time? Like, did that not stop you?
A little bit. It scared the shit out of me, but I think the difference for me was like I knew what I was doing. Like I'm an engineer. It was simple math, right? So it was like I knew what I was doing was worth high value. I knew that it was worth more than $47 because like what I was capable of doing was changing people's lives. And when you run through the math, it was pretty straightforward. Right? It was like, if I'm doing these like $47 ebooks and $97 programs and things like that, the math is simple. I cannot do this. Like it will not work, period. End of statement. Like it's just a big fat zero. So it's like, did I have fears of like whether or not people would pay me $3,000 or $5,000? Yes. Did I feel like I didn't know how to do it? Yes. But it didn't matter because like the other way was guaranteed not to work. Right? So it's like, I had to do something different. And for me, when I was working at Cisco, I held a $130 million quota when I was at Cisco, right? And so when I was at Cisco, if I had to hit $130 million, I'm not trying to sell thousands of like 100K deals, right? I'm going to Disney and I'm going to Facebook to try and get those $20 million, $30 million deals, those big boulders that get it across the line. Because it was much easier to get one $20 million deal than 200 $100,000 deals, right? It was just easier for me. And I think, as the coaching industry started to develop, the coaching industry was so young at that point, right? That you didn't have to have sales skills to become a coach. Right. And obviously, as any industry develops, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, as any industry develops, the people that make it in the industry are the ones that learn how to market and sell. Right. So in the beginning of the industry, you could have just been a good coach. Right. And because you didn't have any marketing skills and you didn't have any sales skills, you did this like value ladder, right? Where it's like, okay, well, people have no idea about me, but I can still probably convince them to buy a $47 course. And then from there, I can convince a small percentage of them to buy a $500 course. And then from there, I can convince a small percentage of them to buy my $5,000 thing, right? Yeah. Or you could just learn how to sell and take a much higher percentage of people straight into that $5,000 thing and actually get a great result. Because nobody fucking changed their life from a $47 ebook. Like nobody changed their life. To me, that's like selling snake oil, right? Yeah. Like, I would rather get someone to pay $5,000 and actually get them a result than sell hundreds of $47 ebooks where nobody actually completes the damn thing or gets anything from it.
Yeah, that's good. And I think this is where, a lot of people that are coming from a corporate background, it's like, it's not, you got to take some of the lessons that you've learned from that and apply it to your business. Because
Yeah.
I did a really similar thing. It wasn't, I didn't have $100 million quotas, but it was like, I was a program project manager. And when I started the business, I was like, I pulled out a spreadsheet and I was like, well, if I want to earn enough money to support this business, it's got to be, I've got to do this many units at this price,
Yeah.
and if I want to earn enough money to support myself, it's this many units at this price. And this is something that I constantly kind of go through. It's like, oh yeah, you've got to make this amount of money, which means you have to have this amount of conversations. And
The math doesn't lie, right? And I think that's the big thing. It's like, as much as I was afraid of trying to learn how to sell my coaching programs, the math didn't lie. And it was like, this is something I'm going to have to do if I want to get to that point.
yeah, and that's something that doesn't matter whether you're starting in 2017 or 2025.
Same
you still need.
same shit today, right? And I think so. I think that's one of the big differences that I want to point out. The difference between, say, 2012, 2015, 2017, 2020, and then today. It's just, as the industry develops, more and more people are realizing that building a career in the coaching space, and I use that word very particularly, a career, right? Because that's what it is moving forward. Like, moving forward, it's like, do you want to build a career in the coaching space? And if you do want to build a career in the coaching space, like, you have to get good at the skills that help you do it, including marketing and sales, right? So, 7, 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, you could have been okay at marketing and okay at sales and built a coaching business. In today's industry, right, you're going to have to learn how to market. You're going to have to learn how to sell. Right? Being a good coach is not good enough, right? This whole idea of like, if you build it, they will come is not, like, there are millions of coaches. There are millions of great coaches right now having zero impact, changing zero lives, because they do not focus, they do not realize they have to learn how to market and sell moving forward, right? And that's going to be the difference. The people that make it in the coaching industry are the ones that treat it like a career. They treat it like a professional, not like a hobby. You could have been a hobbyist 8 to 10 years ago and built a coaching business. You can't be a hobbyist anymore. You have to treat it like a professional.
Yeah, that's really good. And really, it kind of highlights some of the changes from like 2020 when you and I met to
Yeah.
2025 is just like the folks that there's a ton of folks that have started businesses and they did really well. And then
They tanked. Yeah.
it got too hard. It got to the point where they didn't, they had to learn how to build a career, how to do sales and marketing, and they just weren't willing to adapt. They weren't willing to.
Well, I think what happened, like, to your point, I think what happened in 2020 through 2022, obviously there was this influx of cash and everybody was sitting home doing nothing, or like they were working from home and now they're realizing, oh my God, I'm only working 3 hours a day. What else am I going to do with this 5 hours a day? I might as well start a coaching business, right? And what ended up happening is, again, they did it as a hobby. But because there was so much extra money being pumped into the economy, they would get lucky with a tactic, right? They'd pick one tactic and they would get lucky with this one strategy or this one tactic, rather than learning how to be an entrepreneur. Think like an entrepreneur, act like an entrepreneur, test like an entrepreneur, run the data like you were just talking about like an entrepreneur, have the mindset of being willing and able to take the risks like an entrepreneur. So they got lucky with a tactic and it would work for a year or 2 years, right? And they made a bunch of money. And then when it stopped working, they didn't know how to fix it. They didn't know how to make the adjustments to keep it going. Like, I can't tell you, like, obviously we've been in the industry now for almost 8 years helping coaches build their businesses. I can't tell you how many of my competition I have watched come up and then disappear in the last 3 to 5 years, right? Because they got lucky with the tactic, but then the business couldn't survive when, it was like the economy shifted a little bit, or the industry changed and their marketing had to change,
or an algorithm change.
an algorithm changed, and all of a sudden it doesn't work for them anymore because they didn't build the fundamentals of being good entrepreneurs. They just got lucky with a tactic or a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something I see a lot. It's like, if your focus is on just making money, like, yeah, like once you start getting the money, then as soon as it gets harder to get the money, then you don't want to do it. Now you're focusing on,
Yeah.
now you want to do Bitcoin or e-commerce or something like that.
But whatever, wherever the easiest money is, you're focused on the easiest money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, what are some of the challenges that you see in 2025? What are some of the specific things that you think people are facing when they start a coaching business now?
Yeah, I think we just hit on the first one. The first one to me is like you can't treat your business like a hobby anymore and expect it to get up and running, right? If you treat it like a hobby, you'll get hobby results, which means nothing, right? And so like the people that are going to be successful.
It's a good line. Treat it like a hobby, you get hobby results.
Yeah,
That's good.
right. And if you treat it like a career, you'll be able to build a career, right? And so like, but what does that mean to treat it like a career? Well, first it means like you commit to it, right? Like if you're going to commit to being a lawyer, you really commit to being a lawyer, right? Like you know that this is a long term. If you're going to commit to being a doctor, you really commit to being a doctor through all the ups and all the downs and all the lefts and rights and challenges, right? And I think that's an important first step is like really commit to it, right? And then secondly is like, well, okay, if you're committing to it as a career, well, like just like any other career, you're gonna have to invest in yourself to learn what you need to learn to get there. Now, most coaches know, okay, I need to, maybe I need to invest in myself to become a better coach and my delivery.
Yeah.
That's half of it, right? The other half is the business. You have to learn how to market and sell, right? And here's the kicker there is like you don't get to coach anybody unless you market and sell someone first.
Yeah.
So like I think the first biggest barrier is like number one, you got to take it seriously, and number two, you have to commit to investing in yourself and learning marketing and sales. Because if you do not take it seriously and become a CEO before you become a coach, you'll never have clients to work with.
Yeah. It's funny as you're talking through that, I'm just thinking like actually the marketing and sales might even come before the learning how to be a better coach.
100%.
Right? Because I'm thinking like, okay, if I wanted to start a restaurant, for example, and I, was selling steak, like I can cook a pretty mean steak.
Yeah, with where you're at right now.
With where I'm at right now, like I know what meat to select, I know what seasonings, right? I can cook a mean steak because I love steak, right? If I decided I wanted to open a restaurant, would I go to culinary school first? To learn how to cook a like 5%, 10% better steak? Or would I figure out, go to some sort of business school to figure out how to open and run and promote a restaurant?
Yeah. And I think here's the problem is most people would say go to culinary school first. You and I, being successful entrepreneurs, know I would do it the other way around, right? And it's actually so like thinking back, it's actually what I did in my business, right? Like I didn't have a certification. I had wisdom. I had life skills. I didn't have a certification when I first started. I invested in marketing mentors, sales mentors, masterminds, things like that to learn the business. And as I got the business up and running, there were a few certifications and coaching trainings that I knew I wanted to do, right? But I didn't do them until I had already got my business up and running. And I think here's my favorite part is like, there are probably like 5 different certifications and programs I knew I wanted to do to become a better coach. I have 3 certifications. Most people don't know that. I have 3 certifications. I had none of them when I got started. And there were 5 that I wanted, but as I got up and running, I realized 2 of them would have been completely pointless.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known that had I not gotten the business started first. I would have gone and spent, so much money on all these different certifications and probably bankrupt myself and not bring any money in. But because I focused on getting the business up and running first, I was like, okay, this is the most important training that I want to go through now that will help me and my clients first. And I did that one, about like 3 months after I got my business up and running. I was already making like 15, 20K per month. And that one really helped me then. And then I did another one like 6 months later. And then I did another one like 6 months after that. But it was very particular, like, oh, this one will really help me get results now that I'm seeing what my clients really need. And in the end, there was like those other 2. I was like, shit, those were going to be the first 2 that I did. And they're completely useless to me.
Yeah. And it would have taken you hours and
tens of thousands of dollars or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when I first started my business, it was in London, and I remember I hadn't intended to start a business. I just wanted to go to, a gym that was coaching people the way I wanted to coach them. I remember going to one, and the guy had like 25 certifications, right? And I remember looking at the website thinking, oh, okay, this guy must really know what he was talking about. and I went to one of his classes, and he was trash. He sucked. And I was thinking like I could do a better job than him today. I have 0 certifications. And I decided that day to go get a certification.
Yeah.
And it, was just like a weekend thing or whatever. And I was like, great, now I can coach. And I went in and started coaching, and I was yeah, I was better than most of the coaches that I saw. And the difference between me and them wasn't certifications, it was just the kind of experience. It's interesting, Xander, like you're talking about principles, like, this is 2025, man. What about like Chat GPT and like, what is all this? Show me the easy way. What are what are this like? I see a couple of challenges that people are facing.
Yeah. What do you see? What do you see as the biggest challenge in 2025?
Well, I think there's just a lot of information now.
Yeah.
I think there's like a little bit of overwhelm. Like how do you actually?
Well, there's literally no shortage of the information that is needed to build like everything you need to build a successful coaching business is online for free.
100% everything you need, and you can get it in all kinds of different ways. You don't have to pay a dime for it.
Yeah.
The problem is you don't know which ones
What's
are
good,
which ones
what's
actually
not.
work.
I think part of it too is you also have to look at it as a whole system, right? So there's all this information out there for free, but it's like if you wanted to bake a cake, right? You could have 3 different recipes to bake a cake, and if you start picking ingredients from this one, and this one, and you mix them together, it'll be a real shit cake.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too, is like all the information for everything you need, but it's like having a holistic system that actually works together is part of it too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. There's a ton of information. There's a lot of people out there that claim they can help you do it, but it's dubious as to whether they've actually done it or whether they can actually help you. And you could spend.
You mean you don't trust the 19-year-old in his grandma's basement that accidentally built a 6-figure coaching business? Well, I guess, made $12K per month and is now telling you he can make $12K per month too.
What's funny is like, I kind of do. If they have the right like mentality, but that's also because I've been running business for 16 years. It's like, if they say like 2 or 3 key things, I'm like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, even though he's a 19-year-old in his basement. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I think there's a ton of information out there, and that amount of information just kind of creates anxiety and sort of paralyzes people. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I think people would also say like, it seems like everyone and their mom is a coach. Right. And so there's like what you were saying earlier, maybe the market, feels like the market is saturated.
I think people feel the market is saturated because, to that point, everybody and their mom says that they're a coach, but there's a very, very small percentage of them that are actually successfully coaching full time and making the money that they need to. Right. And so it's like everybody is, I use the term like wantrepreneur, like a wannabe coach. Right. But the ones that are actually coaching full time, right, they're the ones that are taking it seriously. They're the ones that are treating it like a profession. But because everybody's saying that they're a coach, everybody thinks the industry is completely saturated. But like, I'll tell you right now, if I were to like pile up 100 coaches, right, in a room right now and ask every single one of them if they are coaching, making enough money to coach full time, like what do you think? How many would say yes out of 100 people?
Oh gosh. I would say it's, this is a funny question. I'm going to say 30.
30?
What do you think? Yeah.
I'd say 2.
I'll tell you why I said that.
And I will say 2, and this is from like, from our team, from the data that we hear from our team. I'd say probably 2 out of 100 are actually coaching, like making enough money to coach full time.
So when you ask a question like that, it implies that the number is really low.
Yeah.
So, me being your friend, I'm gonna way overestimate it so that I give you,
Thanks, man.
give
I
you the
appreciate
satisfaction.
it, Jay. I appreciate it.
But if I said 1 and you said, oh well, it's 2, yeah, then you'd be like,
but it's kind of eye opening because like everybody out there that wants to build a coaching business thinks the coaching industry is saturated, and it's actually not. Right? It's saturated with a bunch of hobbyists. Like that's it. And so people go, well, if only 2% of coaches are successful, then like what's the likelihood that I'm going to be successful? Well, if you treat it like a hobby, the likelihood is zero. But if you're one of the 2% that takes it seriously, like you're going to make everybody else look like kindergarten work.
Yeah. This is really good. As you know, I do a ton of work on sort of marketing social media. That's my, that's what you and I do together. But one of the things one of the sort of perspective shifts that really worked for me is like you go on YouTube or Instagram and you see what seems like lots of people blowing up all the time. And then, and the question is like, can I create a YouTube account that blows up? And it's like, the feeling is there's too many people out there already. But the reality is this, like, even though there might be people out there who have blown up, the chances of them continuing to still consistently produce content is actually pretty low. Because either they got burned out from it, maybe they got the goal that they wanted to achieve, maybe they, made $10 million and now they're retired, right? And when you look at any given time, this sort of 3-month period, the people who blow up are going to be different than they were, a year ago, right? And you see that, like even Gary Vee stopped posting for like a year, right? And it's like that it makes room for everyone else to blow up because they move on to other things.
Well, I also think of it like I was a part of a mastermind that Tom Bilyeu was in. Tom Bilyeu, if you guys don't know Tom Bilyeu, he founded Quest Nutrition, Impact Theory. And I remember he was talking about when he was founding Quest Nutrition, right? And this was, however many years ago, 10 years ago, probably. And like one of his mentors was like, you're getting into the protein bar space. Like that's the most saturated space I can think of. Right. And he had another mentor that told him, look, Tom, there's a lot of protein bars out there, but there's always room in any market for someone who's willing to do the work. Right. And it just kind of reminded me of that. It's like, like for the people that aren't willing to do the work, there's no room. Like if you're looking for the easy route, if you're looking for the easy way, if you're looking for a microwave solution, there's no room. If you're willing to do the work because it matters to you, because you want to help people, you actually want to change lives, you want to serve others, and oh, by the way, have complete financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, and grow as a person mentally, emotionally, spiritually at the same time. If you're willing to do the work, there's room for you.
Yeah. I think that's really the biggest difference between 2025 and maybe 2021 or 2022. Is just like
I just had a super random analogy and story that is totally off base, but now I feel like I have to say it anyways. It reminded me. So when I was young, Maddie's gonna love me for putting this on. When I was young and single, I moved to North Carolina from Los Angeles, right? And all of my friends, as you do. Well, I was working for Cisco at the time. And this is totally out of context, but it's just a funny story. I remember going out to bars in North Carolina and being like, holy shit! Like this is like 80 or 90% guys, and it's like 10 or 50. And I'm a young single guy looking for a beautiful blonde future wife. Right. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like 80 or 90% guys. This market is saturated. Right. And I had a buddy who is from Raleigh, and I'm this like weird, quirky guy from Southern California that's super outgoing, loves talking to people. And he's like, dude, you don't understand. Like there's, out of 100 people in that bar, there's, 90 of them are guys, but the 10 beautiful women in that bar, like, you're just different than the other 90 because you're willing to put in the work. Those other 90 guys are North Carolina guys that just want to sit back and sip a Bud Light and wait for the girl to come talk to them. You're going to go talk to them. Yeah. And like, because of that, like I felt like I was the only guy in the bar anytime I ever went. Right. Yeah. I do want to add to this. I am now happily married to the most beautiful woman in the world, Maddie Fryer. And I was never a, single gallivanting around Raleigh, North Carolina. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, we'll just keep you out of the bar. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I that's a great analogy. I mean, if you're willing to do the work, there's always room for you.
Yeah, there's always room.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start a business, right? This is 2025.
Okay.
If we're going to start a new business, like let's kind of go through the exercise, because this is something that we do quite a bit with folks. So let's start a business together. So I'll be the business owner, you be the coach.
Okay.
I'm thinking of starting a business that's helping people develop better habits. So, like, I'm thinking of becoming a life coach,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, tell me what kind of steps do I need to go through? What questions do you have for me? Like,
Yeah. I mean, the first you and I both know the first step. The first step is creating an offer that people actually want to buy, right? And I think most coaches, like you just mentioned, most coaches start with the process, right? Building better habits, building better lifestyle habits, things like that's a process. That's not an offer.
yeah,
An offer, an offer is the who and the what. The how is the process, right? So building better lifestyle habits is a process, but we want to find a who, a very specific who, and then the outcome they want or the problem they want solved, right? Okay. And so that's what we're looking for from an offer standpoint. So, obviously at High Impact Coaching, our offer is, we help coaches make money. We help coaches build profitable businesses. So coaches, profitable business is the outcome, or make money, right? Like that's essentially it's the who and the what is what we're looking for. So that's the first step, is like we got to clarify an offer that people will actually want to buy. And you and I both know about 90 to 98% of coaches create an offer that connects with them, right? It connects with you and it's part of your mission, but it doesn't connect with your audience. So you have to use your audience's language. You have to understand their psychographic ideals and what causes them to tick and make actions.
all right. So I need to figure out who I'm helping build better habits
Yes.
first, and then what I'm helping them build the habits for.
Because building better habits can be applied to absolutely everything. Just how mindset can be applied to everything. Again, 10 years ago, you could have been a mindset coach, right? Yeah. You could have just been a mindset coach. But now you have to be specific with your outcome and your offer. I always like, people always, they're like, yeah, but Xander, I don't think you understand. I'm the next Tony Robbins, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, yeah, but Tony Robbins has been in the industry for 5 decades. So like he can sell, awaken your giant or unleash the power within. And most people don't know this, but Tony Robbins' first offer was actually a very specific who and outcome. It was helping people with phobias overcome phobias. Like that was his first offer. It was people with phobias, overcome your phobia.
Okay. So I'm thinking, like, I'm probably going to be helping men in their 30s. And if they're developing better habits, it's either going to be around, starting a business or getting in shape.
And those would be, so we always tell people you want to fall into one of the big 3: health, wealth, or relationships. Right. Yeah. So that would be building better habits in either health or building better habits in wealth. Right. Yeah. And so those either of those, there's potential offers in each one of those areas.
Yeah. Now, part of the reason I was running a gym is because I feel like if you're in better shape than the rest of your life,
it affects every area of your life. Exactly. Like most, it's so funny because so many coaches that are in the health or fitness space, wellness space, like, yeah, but I don't want to be known as like the weight loss coach or the health coach. Like I do so much more than that. And I'm like, shit, if I could die and come back again, I wish that was the thing that I was like the best at, was like health coaching. Cause it's literally a gateway to everything else. Right? Like you get somebody better at health, it creates better relationships, it gets them a better career, it gives them back the motivation to achieve the rest of their dreams in their life. Right. Yeah. So it's literally the gateway to everything.
All right. Well, I did that for 15 years, so let's go with the other one.
so let's go with wealth now.
Yeah. So let's go with I'm helping men in their 30s start their first side hustle.
And so if we're getting into the business coaching space, it's a more sophisticated audience. So we actually have to get even more specific, right? Okay. So it's not starting your first side hustle, right? So you can't, if you're getting into the business coaching space, you can't say I help businesses grow their profits, right? You have to get a specific niche, like a specific industry, or you have to have a specific mechanism that's going to help with it, right? So I'll give you an example. Like our company is a great example. I don't just help entrepreneurs grow their business. I help coaches start business. I help starting coaches launch multiple six-figure coaching businesses, right? So it's like, it's a specific size, it's a specific industry, and it's a specific goal that we're trying to achieve, right? And so, if we're helping, men, launch their first side hustle, we'd need to pick like what is the side hustle, right? I help corporate professionals, launch, an Amazon FBA business, right? I have a buddy Jay that helps people launch their FBA businesses, but that's what it is. It's not, helping men launch a side hustle. It's helping people launch their FBA business, right? So helping people launch drop shipping businesses or help people launch coaching businesses and get out of the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then if I think about my experience, I'm answering questions you're not asking. So,
That's fine. Keep it going, man.
if I'm thinking about my experience, I mean, I've lost a bunch of weight. I've started a couple of businesses. I've helped people with their business. So I don't know anything about Amazon FBA because
Yeah.
I've not been interested in that. I do know how to start coaching businesses. I know how to start brick and mortar businesses.
Yep.
I know how to, get your first client, right? So maybe getting your first client is kind of is something I can help people with.
The simplest is you basically narrowed it down to 2 offers, right? You can help people launch a brick and mortar gym, or you can help people launch coaching businesses, right?
Right.
And you've got 2 offers there. Either one would work. You just need to pick which one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with a brick and mortar gym.
Cool.
Even though it's 2025 and who wants to do that, but whatever. All right. So I help people, so I help people launch their first brick and mortar gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds more specific. So what do I do next?
Yeah. So first step is create the offer. From the offer, then you create the delivery, right? I think a lot of people get this backwards. They have this whole program laid out, and then they're like, now I need to figure out how to get clients. It's like, no, you've done this backwards. Like, you have to start with the offer. You have to start with something that people want to buy, and then you can create the program and delivery, right? So that would be the next thing, is taking your expertise and everything you know and being able to create the program and delivery. And then we start to get to work on sales and lead generation from there.
You know what's crazy? I was thinking of, as you were talking through that, Xander, I was thinking, both of my in-person gyms, I went from idea to open within 3 months.
Yeah.
So like I actually found the location, got the equipment, got everything started, did a website, like basically idea to open in 3 months. That feels like a very short amount of time to launch a brick and mortar business.
Yeah, brick and mortar for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's a good offer. I go from idea to open, right? In 3 months.
In 90 days. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to help you launch your first brick and mortar gym in 90 days.
Yeah. Amazing.
Right? And then you're saying, then I actually plan the program.
What is the deliverable? Like what steps are you going to walk them through? What exercises are you going to need to give them? What training are you going to need to train them on? What are the steps, the KPIs, the checkpoints that they need to hit to make sure that they're getting to launched, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, figuring out how to, finding your location, researching the markets, finding once you find something, getting a lease sorted out, with favorable terms. And then, once all of that stuff is kind of nailed down to an extent, then it's about getting your first handful of clients so that you can sort of finance that. Right.
Yeah. And it's just like, all you're doing is, again, remember, like we're selling an outcome here. We're not selling a service. I think this is a big mistake that a lot of coaches make. Going into 2025, like you can't sell coaching as a service and make the money that you need to anymore. If you're selling $100 an hour or something like that, like run through the math, right? Yeah. If you're selling $100 an hour service, that means to get to 10K per month, if you're working with 25 clients once a week, right? To get to 10K per month, you need to work with 25 clients once a week. That'll get you to 10K per month if you're charging hourly. Well, that's 25 coaching hours every single week. You're not taking into account that, 2 to 3 times that you're going to be spending on administrative and promotional purposes. You're going to be working a 70 to 80 hour a week job to get to 10K per month if you're selling a service. When you're selling an outcome and you're being able to charge, high ticket prices like $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 for it, right? Well, to get to 10K per month, for a $3,500 client, you need 3 clients that month.
Yeah. This is such a good point, Xander. And I think this is part of why you and I connected. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaches and some of them were amazing. Right. Yeah. But what I was always looking for is like, I'm here and I want to get here. How can you help me get there?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so whenever I coach someone, whenever I talk to them, that's the first thing I want to know is like, where do you want to get to, and by when?
Yeah, and then we can break down the steps. Like let's engineer, reverse engineer. Like if I want to go from A to B, what are the pillars or what are the steps, the stopping points that I need to get through along? Like so, for example, like when we work with coaches to help them, launch high ticket coaching businesses. Okay, the goal is to get you to start enrolling high ticket clients, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, and on average, we're able to do that with someone between 42 and 53 days on average. That's not like our fastest. That's the average person, right? And like we're talking about, it's like, okay, if we want to get better and better at helping people get there faster and more consistently, we know the steps to get there. Like we're talking about, the first step that we just talked about is you need to get a clear offer, an offer that'll actually work. The second step is you need to create a program that can actually get results for people and that you can actually position to sell for $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, right? Then you need a sales script, right? So we literally walk people through putting together a sales script or framework, because if you're trying to sell people on if you're trying to sell people into your programs and you don't have a consistent framework to walk them through, you're never going to have consistent sales.
Wait. So you're saying I need a sales script before I even start doing marketing?
You need a sales script so that when you start doing the marketing, you can get someone on the phone and actually enroll them into your programs.
Ah, okay, yeah. That's interesting. When I think about it, as you talk through it, it's like, yeah, well, that actually directs my marketing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I'm clear about what I'm actually going to get.
Exactly what you're looking for and what you're trying to sell. So it's offer, program, sales script, and then you start putting out your marketing to start getting yourself on calls.
Yeah. Well, so for this business, this helping people
Yeah.
start their brick and mortar. All right. So we go through the sales script, which, that's pretty straightforward, but we have like a script that people can copy.
Yeah.
What is how would you market this? What would you do? Or what would you suggest I do?
Yeah. For your in-person brick and mortar business.
Yeah.
I mean, there's basically, we teach 4 different ways to generate leads. There's essentially 4 different strategies to generate leads in 2025. There's what we call the influencer model, which we talked about earlier, becoming an influencer by posting content, going viral, things like that. There's the collaborator model, where instead of becoming an influencer, getting your own following, because maybe you're not, that great at putting out content, you find other people with your audience, right? So you find the other people that have your audience and you collaborate with them in order to, they might have your audience, you can go do trainings, or you go do webinars for them to kind of get yourself in front of your audience, and then you can invite them to, come work with you or enjoy your product or your service. So that's the collaborator model. So we have the influencer model, the collaborator model. The hustler model is kind of what we were talking about, how I got up and running. It's essentially relationship marketing, right? So you can do this in person, you can do it online, but the example I used is when I got up and running, I had a Facebook group of 47 people, right? And in that group, I literally just reached out to every single person to connect with them and understand their problems, right? Because people don't buy into your coaching program. They don't buy into they're not buying Jay's gym, right? They're buying into losing weight. They're buying into getting healthy. They're buying into fixing a problem that they currently have, right? And so, when you find someone who has a problem that you can help them solve, you invite them to come work with you and fix it. Right. And this is a really novel idea for most coaches, is like, most coaches are like, what do you mean? I have to reach out to people? I have to have conversations with people? Oh my God, I got to get out of my own way. Right. I just want everybody coming to me. And I always remind people, like, what's the hardest thing to do when you need help? Ask for help. The hardest thing to do when you need help is to ask for help. And so you have all these potential clients who would love to work with you as a coach that are out there in the world. 95% of them will never reach out to you for help, because the hardest thing to do is ask for help when you need help. So if you're just going to sit back and wait for people to come to you, that works if you're an influencer and you have a big audience. If you do not have a big audience, you just need to build relationships and ask those people if they want your help solving the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So that's probably the method that I would go Yeah.
Right? Like the way that so you're starting a gym, like same thing as if you were starting a restaurant, right? Like if you just started a restaurant, would you expect that restaurant to survive if you didn't go tell everybody that you know about it and go, put flyers in different coffee shops and things like that and go talk to people on the street corner to come check it out? Like, no, that restaurant's not going to survive if you're not willing to go put in a little bit of work and hustle to get it out there, get the word out about what you're doing, right?
Yeah, no, that's good. So basically I would have to go find people that are thinking of starting a gym and just talk to them and find out like what are some of their challenges, or people that have always wanted to do that.
Yeah, or yeah, and going to places where you know that there are, potential gym goers, right? So that would be the collaborator model. Like where are people that, you go to see if you could do a collaboration with the health food store down the street, right? So yeah, there's
Like personal trainers at other
personal trainers at other people's gyms. Exactly, right? So that's the collaborator model. Is like go and find where your audience is. And same thing with the hustler model. Again, you can do it in person like that, or you can do it online, right? So you can go online and start posting about your gym and find other people in your area using geotags and things like that to post about your gym and other people, to connect with other people in your area and start opening up conversations about it.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that model because the influencer part seems really hard. Like becoming an influencer seems really difficult.
Well, it was a lot easier about 10 years ago, but like if you want to be an influencer in today's industry, there's over 2 billion content creators, right? So like you can't just like everybody's like, "Oh, I've got great things to share, great ideas to talk about." That's cool, but if you have not mastered the skill of creating content that Instagram or TikTok or Facebook algorithm loves and wants to share with everybody, doesn't matter how good your message is, Instagram's not going to share it. Right? So you have to master the type of content that Instagram wants you to share.
Yeah.
And that takes some practice. Like just like if you wanted to become a professional swimmer, like you don't just like jump in the pool and swim like Michael Phelps from day one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so that's good. So what's funny is before this conversation, I did a search on ChatGPT on how to start
Of course you did.
to start a business in 2025.
Of course you did.
And I'm just gonna read out. I'm gonna read out what it told me. So it gave me like 10 steps. Here's just the first 5 steps. Okay, so my question that I asked ChatGPT was, if I was going to, let me just pull this up. Sorry. The question was, all right, what are the key points to consider if you're starting a coaching business in 2025?
Oh, I love it. What did you get?
Okay, so the answer was, number 1 was laser focus your niche. Number 2 was validate.
That's not wrong. It's just, what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Number 2, validate ROI with beta clients.
What does that mean?
We'll go through. So,
okay. All right.
Number
keep
3
going.
is
I'm distracting you. Keep going.
Design a hybrid offer stack. Number 4 is build an audience before buying ads. And number 5 is price for value and layer recurring revenue. Now, these are the first 5 points. And the funny thing is, I highlighted these because they make sense. Like, I've been coaching people for 16 years, right?
Yeah.
And they make sense to me, having been a coach for 16 years.
Yeah.
But reading through this, thinking as a new coach, it's like, what in the fuck does all of this stuff mean?
Yeah.
So like number 1, laser focus your niche. Right? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, you do need to have a very clear niche, but laser focus your niche, I don't know exactly what I mean. I think because you can have a laser focused niche, but the language can be in your language and not your audience's language, and it won't make any sense. So it's not just about a laser focused niche. You need a niche, but you also have to use the language that your audience wants, like actually attracts your audience.
Yeah. So it's sort of like what you were talking about before. It's like get a clear offer and that kind of thing. Okay, so we're both on board with that. Validate ROI with beta clients. So it says early case studies prove you can deliver without results. Nothing else matters.
Okay, so this one I actually completely disagree with. So validate ROI with beta clients. And maybe that's because I'm assuming when it's talking about beta clients, it's saying like do some free clients or something like that. Right. And I actually think that is the worst advice that you could give any coach. And here's why. I see it all the time certifications, anybody who's listening to this who's gone through a certification can probably agree with me. Like, you go through a certification and they'll tell you, like, start by verifying that you can get results with beta clients for free. Here's the problem with that. People who pay attention. People who do not pay don't do shit.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, and one of the biggest problems, I can't tell you how many thousands of times I've seen this, where someone follows that advice of like, okay, I'm going to go work with a handful of clients and get some case studies and testimonials, and then I'll feel more confident, right? I'll feel more confident asking my price. What happens is first of all, they find out that trying to sell people something for free is fucking difficult.
Yeah.
And when you're finding it difficult to sell something for free, can you imagine how that affects you when it comes to actually selling the full price of your program? You're like, people won't even buy it for free. Why would they pay $4,000 for it? It kills your mindset. When you're finding it difficult to sell stuff for free, it completely turns you off from being able to sell your program, number one. Number two, even if you do get people, because they're not paying, they're not committed. So it's like pulling teeth with these clients. They don't show up, they reschedule, they don't do the homework, and because of that, they don't get results. So you work your ass off with this person and they don't get results and they don't want to refer anybody to you. So now not only do you think you can't sell your program because it was super hard to sell it for free, you also think you suck as a coach.
Yeah, that's right.
And neither of those are true. But it's all because you wanted to go get free. You thought getting free clients first would be the best first step. And it's completely backwards.
You know, it's funny, when I started my second gym, one of the things it wasn't a second gym, it was like an offer that I was trying, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I knew I couldn't do it for free. So I just offered a money back guarantee. Yeah. It was like, people pay, and then if they don't get the result, then I give them their money back. And it was like,
then you're not afraid of not getting the result, at least, because like you're like, okay, I'm working on it. And if somebody didn't and they're really unhappy, like, I can give them their money back. They'll be okay.
Yeah. So that's maybe that's a way to approach it. Also, you are your first beta client, right? If you've done it, then that proves it.
I think that is a terrible piece of advice. So ChatGPT, I love you. Do not do that, guys.
So design a hybrid offer stack, map out one-on-one, group, self-paced, and community pieces so delivery and margin scale together. This is a funny one, Xander, because I sort of agree, but it sounds like a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's like, I think maybe what you said earlier is like, have an outline for your program.
Yeah.
And focus on the result.
Well, what we teach all of our clients is like, yeah, you're right, that is a ton of work, right? So you shouldn't start with that. Right? Like a hybrid offer stack or a hybrid delivery model is a great way to scale and get results. Like our programs are hybrid offer stacks, where it's like we give the recipe, like the program, but we also do one-on-one, we do group sessions, and we like really dig in with the one-on-one to make sure everybody gets a lot of one-on-one support that they need. Right? Yeah. But you don't start out with this hybrid delivery model. You start out one-on-one. Right? Because if you're putting together a bunch of programs and stuff and you haven't coached anybody before, you could spend the next 3 weeks putting together all these videos and PDFs and things like that. And then you go work with your first client and you're like, oh shit, I need to change everything.
Yeah.
So you always start one-on-one for your first 3 to 5 clients. And after about 5 clients, you're like, okay, I know the exact steps we need to go through and in what order. Now I can start to put together kind of the delivery, the videos, the PDFs, things like that if I want to. And then when you have like about 5 to 10 concurrent clients, you can add in some community pieces and group calls and things like that. 'Cause worst thing in the world is let's say you put this all together, right? You put the self-study stuff, the one-on-one and the community pieces, and you go launch this thing. And first of all, like, let's say you get 1 person. How's that community going to look when you've got 1 person? You are going to be so damn embarrassed that you're going to want to shut this shit down, right? So no, you do not start with a community thing. And then also, like the self-paced stuff, like I mentioned, you're going to have to change a bunch of stuff. So don't do that stuff until later.
Yeah. Number 4, build an audience before buying ads. I like that one.
I like this one. Yeah. Like you really shouldn't be spending money on advertising unless you're already making 10, 15, 20K per month organically. Because if you're not making any money organically, you don't know your marketing. You don't know what language is actually working. Like our website crushes. Like it gets some great leads from our website. I didn't build a website until I'd already made $1 million as a coach. And by the time I had made $1 million on all the copy on our website is from posts that I'd done over the course of that year prior that got the most connection with people.
Yeah. So you prove stuff that it works before you start spending money
Before
on
I
it.
start spending money on stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And this last one, price for value and layer recurring revenue. So basically this is like a high ticket front end with a membership mastermind back end.
Okay. I agree with that. That's actually what we teach.
I think that's good. I would focus more on the high ticket front end before you start doing the other stuff. It's like, it's just interesting. I mean, a very simple question that I asked ChatGPT and it gives me stuff that's like very complicated. And some of it sort of makes sense, some of it doesn't. And it's like, this is the kind of stuff that people face when they're starting a business. There's just so much information. How do you know which one, kind of works?
Exactly, right? Like this is not bad information, but it's in the nuances of this that you see success. It's in the details of this. And it's like you just can't know that unless you've worked with hundreds or thousands of people to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll kind of wrap this up here. If you want help building your coaching business, if you want someone to help you kind of sift through the nuance, if you're looking to build a coaching business in 2025, then click the link below and you can fill out an application and see if it's a good fit to work with High Impact Coaching. Any other kind of closing thoughts before we sign off?
I think, the one thing that I would say is like my hope from this podcast, at least this episode, is that for those of you guys who want to build a coaching business, you realize that like you're going to have to take it seriously. You're going to have to put some work in, right? But if you're willing to put the work in to build a coaching business in 2025 or moving forward in 2026, if you're willing to put in the work in, you can literally build a career that is a dream, right? You can make amazing money. You can have complete location and time freedom, and you can do it all while actually like serving humanity and growing communal consciousness and helping change and transform lives. But you have to be committed to treating it like a professional moving forward.
Yeah, you got to be all in on it. It's not a quick fix, and yeah, you're not going to want to do it if you look at it as a quick fix, because it takes work in the long term to make this work.
Yeah, love it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Xander. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.